Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Welcome. All right. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. My name is Matt, and I am the events officer here at the Adelaide campus for AIE. And I am joined by the awesome Emma and the excellent Cezar. Welcome.
Hello.
Hello.
All right, so yes, a big thank you for everyone joining us tonight. We are really excited. Hopefully everyone has had a lovely Tuesday so far around Australia. Here in Adelaide, it was really sunny. Not sure what it was like around the rest of the globe, but you can see I've got a little bit sunburnt, so that's okay. But hopefully everyone's enjoying their day so far and about to tune in for a really enjoyable live stream as well. So today we have Cezar. I will not introduce him as Emma and Cezar, of course. We've got them, so they'll be the ones introducing and talking about Cezar's role and what he does. But for us here at the live stream, for any guests watching, if you do have questions throughout tonight, please feel free to pop them in our chat and we'll do our best to get them answered. But other than that, I think that's everything from me. So I'll pass it over to Emma and let's jump into the live stream.
Sounds good. Okay, well, thank you so much everyone for joining us here tonight. We've got Cezar, who is actually one of our AIE teachers. So first off, Cezar, do you want to actually introduce yourself and talk a little bit about what your role is here at AIE?
Yeah, my name is Cezar, and I am an art teacher at AIE. So I teach more the game art course.
Yeah. Cool. So you're part of our online campus, and our online campus has there's lots of parts to it. So you're part of the day classes. So you're working with the online campus and also the Canberra campus as well. So you get a bit of a best of both worlds there and get to work with all of the different teachers, which is pretty cool. So you did a lot of really exciting stuff though before you came to AIE. So do you want to talk about some of the projects you worked on and kind of what your roles were in all of those different projects?
Yeah, so most of the projects I was a character artist. So I worked in a couple games like Halo Forge, Skyforge, the last one, Diablo 2. Diablo 2 I didn't work as a character artist though. I just did a couple assets for it, for the environment. And I worked in a short movie called Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter, The Great Calamity.
Oh, yeah.
It was basically a bonus short movie for the actual movie. Yeah.
Cool. And what does a character artist do for those who might not know?
Yeah, so we basically get the concept art from the concept artist. So basically the drawing of the character, right? With a bunch of different views there. And then we basically make the character in 3D. And then we call game ready. So the character in the game, the final character is in the game. We basically sculpt the character, we model it in 3D and texture.
Awesome. Yeah. And what software have you used to make them in 3D? What's the one your go-to software?
Many software, but the main one is ZBrush. And then, of course, we use Maya and Substance Painter as well.
Yeah, cool. So anyone who's looking into being a character artist, start having a look at those different softwares. I think you can get ZBrush Mini, which is free. It is a very, very small version of ZBrush, but it's still pretty fun to play around with. What made you actually want to become a character artist though? Was it like you really liked art in school, or what led you down this path?
I was terrible in school. I just wanted to draw. I was always drawing. And in Brazil was a bit different because we didn't have this in Brazil, so it was very new. But yeah, I was always drawing. So my goal was always like I want to work with art, and I always like video games as well. So it just I just ended up going in the game industry, and making characters because it's
Did you go to
Sorry.
university to like study or anything? Like how'd you like be like, oh, this is actually an area that I can go down?
Yeah, so after school, I heard about a game design course in Brazil, and then I started studying that in university, a bachelor. But then at the second semester, it was a lot of programming, and I was like, that's not for me. And so they just opened up an animation course. It was called animation design. It was a brand new course. It was the first one in Brazil. It was the first course of that type in Brazil. And then I saw there was no programming there. It was more art and animation. I didn't like animation, but I was like, okay, this is more something that I want to do. And I always wanted like a diploma because that's really important in Brazil to have a diploma, a high degree. Yeah, basically a diploma. So yeah, I ended up doing that, and I did for 2 years, and I graduated on animation design. Yeah.
Cool. And how was it finding your first job after you graduated? Was it hard?
So yeah, so after I graduated, I started doing specializations courses like ZBrush and drawing, anatomy, a bunch of those. And the first jobs I actually was doing for advertisement, because advertisement was huge in Brazil at that time. So basically, my first jobs was in advertisement. And then my first big job was Halo, but it was after I went to California, studied even more. I was specialized in character art at that point for games. So I studied more anatomy and more ZBrush and more traditional sculpture. And then when I came back from Brazil, that's when I got the opportunity to work on Halo.
Cool. Awesome. What was it like working on Halo as your first like games job? Was it like did you work in a
Yeah,
big team or individually?
yeah, at that time it was amazing, especially because I was so young and then I knew nothing. It was just a great experience, a very scary experience as well, because I was learning a bunch of new things, of course. Um, but yeah, it was a big team, and I worked with an outsourced company, so basically 343 hired an outsourced company, and then we were doing basically freelance, and then they hired me. But it was amazing. I worked on two characters for the game, and it was pretty amazing. It was an amazing experience.
No. Cool. What, so our second years are graduating. I think we've got a few of them in the chat at the moment. Was
Mhm.
like, how do you have any advice for them? Because they're going to be starting to go for jobs and stuff like that. Do you have any advice on like going for interviews and actually like, because now it's like a multi-step process, right? Where you've got to go through like
Yeah.
heaps of different things. Do you have any advice for anyone like when they're applying for a job or like when they're in kind of that process?
Yeah, I would say they if you go to the job opportunity, they always ask for your CV and but the main thing is your portfolio. So focus on your portfolio. That's your work. Your work is gonna do the talk for you, even though you're gonna do multiple interviews, but your work is gonna do the talk. If they're interested in you, they're gonna be interested in your work, and then they want to talk to you about what you can do and if you can do the job that they want, right? But yeah, focus on the portfolio and listen to feedback. Always listen, be humble, and always listen to what they have to say. That's it.
Yeah, that's good advice. What kind of stuff did you have in your portfolio when you went for the Halo job?
So yeah, for me, it's very different from where I come from Brazil. It's a very different culture. So in Brazil, just to have an idea, I'm not exaggerating here. Just to have a computer in your home is a very big deal because everything's so expensive in Brazil. We don't have all the things that you guys have here. Here it's very easy compared to Brazil. It's very hard in Brazil. So the thing that I had to do at the time, and all the artists, they still do that. We had to go to forums like ZBrush Central, and we have to put our work there, and we have to show them that look at my work, look at what I'm doing. I'm working really hard. I love this, and I really want a job in this industry. So basically, that's how I got my first job. Basically, Microsoft sent me an email. I just opened up my mail one day, and then it was they were
Awesome.
inviting me to for an interview to work on a Halo, which was awesome. But that was the process for me. I was basically showing my work on the internet and hoping that my work was good enough to catch an attention from someone else. Because the goal in Brazil, I can speak for most of the artists, are to get good and get out of Brazil. That's our goal. to work with someone else. Yeah.
Yeah, well, we've got some of your work up, but I think there's more of your recent work.
Yeah.
Is there any like special inspirations for any of the pieces we're seeing? Obviously,
Yeah.
you've got a very particular style, which is really awesome. But did
Yeah.
you have
So
any like inspirations or anything?
Yeah, and I always separate my personal. I never post my professional work online. It's always my like this one is a study, but I always put my just personal work because I like doing art. I think the one thing that I like is basically I try to give a soul to like the pixels, right? Because it's just pixels, just a digital thing. So I like to give soul and emotion trigger. So that's all my personal work. That's what I do on my free time. Um, but yeah, my inspiration. I have a bunch of other artists that were my inspiration, but it's basically my personal is what I'm feeling at the moment, and I try to express that, making like a still piece like that one.
Yeah,
It's
cool.
very
I
very
mean,
personal, yeah, very personal.
yeah, I mean they're beautiful, so anyone can see
Thank
that.
you,
Um,
thank you.
what were some of the challenges you faced at the beginning of your career, and like what are some of the challenges you face now that you've worked on a few different games, and how have they changed along the way?
Yeah. First challenge, like I said, because where I come from, the first time was family, trying to show them that look, this is a career, and I was always
Yep.
in my head that I have to do the best because I have to prove them that I can do this as a career because I was following a very dangerous path right there because it was very new. But and the challenge right now, I think the challenge is trying to keep up with everything that comes out because every day
Yeah.
something new is coming out, and it's way faster than when I started things change pretty fast, but right now it's really fast. I think that's the new challenge, just trying to keep up with all the new tools and all the new techniques that it's coming out. It's crazy.
Yeah, there's so many. I mean, we do, for anyone who doesn't know, we do a graduate, like an industry panel where we invite industry along to come and talk to our teachers to like be like, this is what we're doing in class. And
Mm.
they're always giving us new things and they're like, we're not doing that anymore. We're doing this. And so we like take that on board for our students so that they're the
Yeah.
most up to date and can get a job with the most up to date
Mm.
stuff in like when they're graduating. But I swear every year they come back and they're like, oh, and this has changed and this has changed. And we're like, whoa, so this is a lot. Let me get my pen. I'm going to write all this down. So yeah, it is just a constantly changing industry, which is really cool. Like it's awesome to see all of the new stuff that's coming out,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's definitely a challenge. What was one of your biggest highlights? You've worked on some amazing projects, as you mentioned, Halo, Diablo. You've worked on so many different projects. Which one is there one that stood out for you as like, this was the best time ever? Like I loved it. I loved all the work I was doing on it.
I think I did a very small work for Diablo, but that one was a highlight for sure because since I was a kid, I was like, I want to work at Blizzard, I want to work at Blizzard, I want to work at Blizzard, and uh, so just being part of the project was, I think it was really a highlight. Like, oh, cool, I'm doing even a small, even a small work that you were doing on that project. Like, oh, cool, I finally work, with something for Blizzard, which was definitely something that me and all my friends, back in the day when we were just learning ZBrush was something that we always a place that we wanted to work because we're always playing Blizzard games and why not? But yeah, it's definitely is. But all of them, Halo and all the project was they're just amazing. It's just I'm just very thankful for the opportunities that I had in my career so far. Yeah.
What is your so obviously a character artist goes through many different steps. Do you want to describe the different like processes you go through to actually create a finished project? Yeah.
Yeah. When I get the concept art, I start sculpting ZBrush, of course, and sometimes it changes from the concept art. So ZBrush is a good tool to do that because ZBrush is basically sculpting with clay, but in the computer. So because it's really fast after you get used to the software, so fast to change things. So that's when we can be free a little bit to explore a little bit of the character if we have a little bit of freedom. And then after ZBrush, of course, we go to Maya to do more of the technical side of the character. which I don't like personally. I have to do the retopology and all that, get ready the UVs to start texturing, so get ready for the game and start texturing the character. And then you go to Substance Painter, which I love it because you just start texturing the character, putting colors and all the textures that you want. And then you finally get that character into engine and start seeing the final product, right? How it looks in game. Which has, so it's, you have the artistic side, which is ZBrush and Substance Painter, and you also have the technical side, which is, in my opinion, one of the boring parts of the of the job. You have to do it.
Everyone has their own skill. I'm sure there's lots of people who love the technical side and then
Yeah.
really struggle with ZBrush, and they're like, I've got to
Mm.
get like this little thing right, and they're constantly working on it, but they love doing all of
Yeah.
the rigging and all of the other stuff like that. So everyone
sure.
has a things. What? Oh, hello, Matt. Do
Hello.
you have a question?
I don't from the audience, which is a challenge to the audience. Let's get some questions going. But I've got a personal question though, and I'm going to bring up on the screen here if we just allow me to in 1 second. So you're talking about pieces of software. I just wanted to ask, for a few of these, what predominantly were the pieces of software you used, and like how much time are you spending in each piece of software to create something like this? Now, I do know that obviously these aren't 3D and in a game engine right now, you can't play this character, but just
Yeah,
even
no.
creating artwork like this.
Yeah, so that's those ZBrush and Photoshop. So the majority of those pieces went for galleries, so went for art shows.
Yeah,
So it's ZBrush and Photoshop mainly. So ZBrush is the main one, is the big one. So I spent like five hours, 6 hours in ZBrush, sometimes
yeah,
even more. And then I go to Photoshop when I feel it's ready, when I feel the motion's correct and everything, because this is all for prints and galleries and all that stuff. So when I feel it's ready in ZBrush, the motions are there and everything,
yeah,
then I go to Photoshop to do the final composition
yeah.
and crop the image, do simple stuff in Photoshop, but
Yeah.
majority is ZBrush. Yeah.
So did you create for this photo here or this artwork here, did you create the roses in ZBrush too, or the flowers?
Yeah,
Yeah,
ZBrush. Yeah,
yeah,
ZBrush. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, in
Yeah, well, it
I
was
always try to get the like. A lot of people think it's painting instead of 3D.
yeah,
That's what I try and go for.
yeah,
Well,
yeah, because
I don't know if people saw the orange one that was going around, and you actually had the video, and it showed that it was 3D.
Yeah,
I was
yeah,
like,
oh,
I was like, ooh,
yeah,
yeah,
I can get
yeah.
that one up
nice.
for a
I
second.
like that one.
I
Which one
think
was
it's the
that?
third up top. I think up top, the
This one?
third
Yeah,
one.
that one.
That's that one. I think that one has the video. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. Here we go.
Yeah, there you go.
that's it. Yeah, yeah,
Wonder whether I can.
So you can actually
Oh, I
get
can. Yeah,
some context to see like
yeah.
it
This is
is
all
actually a
ZBrush.
full
Yeah,
3D model.
yeah. And how long did
yeah.
this piece take?
I would say about 5 hours.
Yeah,
Yeah, they are always like it doesn't take long. It's always because I'm
yeah,
following just my style, so I'm always free with that.
yeah.
So it's pretty quick. I don't. Yeah.
And
So
two. Oh, sorry. Go Emma.
no, I was going to say Cesar's an expert. I followed along with him when he was teaching us how to use ZBrush, and I was like, ah, I was like, I am not good at this. And he's like, and now we've got a beautiful like character. And I was like, oh my gosh, I have a lump. I have a lump. This does not look good at all.
Another quick question from me. Sorry, actually, I've kind of got two.
Mhm.
I'm being a bit greedy here.
Sure.
But one was, what's the rate of progression like? Because obviously, or sorry, maybe not obviously, but like with myself, I'm doing the Cert 3 in Screen and Media, so I'm just starting to like begin the basics of modeling and texturing, and a lot of it seems at this stage very slow.
Yeah.
But I'd imagine with like ZBrush as well, like this sort of mate, is it, do you reckon the first like half year, first year, what time frame are you looking at in which your skills so quickly develop, but then kind of like taper off towards kind of like mastery level, if that makes sense?
Yeah, no, it makes sense. It takes a long time. Like I
Yeah,
spent 8 years studying anatomy, and I'm still studying anatomy, but I spent 8 years really studying anatomy. And
yeah,
for me, it took like after 3 years is when I got the chance to go to California,
yeah,
and I was doing like a traditional sculpture course. That's
yeah,
when my head clicked because my teacher showed me something. I was like, oh, that's it. and then improved my work a lot in ZBrush.
Yeah.
But it took me like around 3 years to actually get to a level that, like, okay, now I'm comfortable with the software. Now I know exactly what I'm doing, and
Yeah.
I just need to now keep improving.
Yeah.
That this base, but it is a slow. That's something that students sometimes doesn't have the patience.
Yeah.
It's really slow with ZBrush because anatomy it's so hard. It's
Yeah.
really slow. It's a slow process. You have to be patient and really hard working
Yeah.
on this tool because it is slow. Yeah.
Yeah. And then my final question before I nip off the screen and pass it back to Emma, was in ZBrush specifically, what's the importance of having like the right set of tool brushes? Or is it more
Yeah,
just very personal? So what works for you?
it is very personal, but I get this question a lot from students like, oh, what brush should I use?
Yeah.
They're paying attention so much on the brush, and I show them that I use only the basic brush. You don't have to worry about brushes at all because it's
Okay.
I use the basic brushes. It's
Yeah.
basically getting used to the software and knowing your anatomy
Yeah.
and getting comfortable with the software. That's the most important thing. In the brushes, I use the basic ones.
Yeah.
Yeah, I only use the basic ones. Yeah, I don't any different ones.
Yeah. Awesome. All right. Sorry for that little hijacking there, Emma. I'll pass it back to you.
No, no, always good. Like honestly, ZBrush is one of my like the software I love playing around with the most, and I'm like really like lucky. I go to the student computers, and I'm like, I'm gonna give it a go, and it's like I'm back in my pottery classes, and I'm like, just shaping like a whole ball, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I feel like I'm back there. So I love hearing about like all of the different tips and tricks with it because it is such a cool software, and it's so cool to see like people who are actually good at it making amazing artworks. And like as you said, you've put these in galleries as well, so it's really cool to see like how these pieces are created, especially them being 3D but then looking 2D and how that all correlates together. So it's really cool. Well, let's jump back into it. So you've talked quite a bit about like what it was like starting off in Brazil and, a lot of the struggles you face, like being like, this is an actual career because this like, wasn't really a thing. Do you have any like words of wisdom you'd give to your younger self now that you have like worked on these amazing projects and stuff like that? Is there any like piece of advice that you'd go back and be like, hey, this is what I know now?
Yeah, if I could go back, I would say just be patient, continue working hard. It will happen. It will happen.
Yeah.
Because I was every day working ZBrush and posting my work, and I was like, oh my God, no, this is never gonna happen to me. This is it's never gonna happen. But it will if you're working hard and you have passion for it. Just you have patience because it will happen.
Yeah. Awesome. And I find that a lot of our students, and you've probably come across this because you spend more time with the students than I do, but a lot of our students are like perfectionists and they don't want to release anything unless it's like absolutely perfect, and they continue working on it. Do you have any advice for like some of those students who get a little stuck, like perfecting a project until it's like, been worked on for literally like hours and hours and hours? Do you have any advice for them?
You gotta show your stuff. You need to get feedback. If you don't get feedback from other more experienced than you're not gonna progress because you are criticizing your own work. But when you show it to other people, they're gonna see things that you can't see. So and it's very valuable to get that feedback. Of course, constructive feedback. Don't listen to people just to make your day worse. But constructive feedback will actually make your work improve. You gotta show your stuff so you can make it better next time.
Yeah, definitely. Now you obviously are working for AIE, which is really cool. But if you were getting back, like, are you interested in getting back into like games or working on any cool projects that are coming out of Australia now?
Yeah, sometimes I miss working in a cool production, especially like the big ones, the AAA games. It's always awesome when they finally release the game and you can talk about it and you see people's reaction playing the games and you can see your name in the credits. It's always
Yeah.
I sometimes I miss that. Yeah.
Well, obviously we've got a huge indie scene, as well as we've got some AAA studios here in Australia. Is there one? So, are you a AAA person? Do you prefer those projects over the indie projects, or do you just find that they're so different that they've got their own like positives on each
I
side?
know they're all awesome. I play a bunch of indie games. Sometimes I see. I always like to play games. Students even make jokes because I never finish a game. Sometimes I like to play a bunch of games just because I like playing games. I want to see what people are doing. Especially indie games, they comes up with some like very creative ideas, different than what we see. Sometimes AAA games are just the same, recycled. But I like working on AAAs because of the budgets, because I'm allowed to just work on my character and do my
Yeah.
my job there. But and in the studio, sometimes you have to do a bunch of stuff. That's why I avoid work on indie games. But it's not that I don't like it. I love it. It's just that I want to focus on my specialization, which is characters. That's why I go more towards the AAA productions. Yeah.
Yeah, that's very similar. We were chatting, a bunch of our students and I were chatting to another person who's working in the industry, and he's working for a AAA studio. And he was saying just the amount of like having a big company behind you allows you to actually do what you want to do, which is a
Yeah.
really awesome freedom to have. So yeah, that's definitely something I've heard more and more. Though there is just some amazing projects that are coming out of indie, and these creative ideas that, again, you said like they just wouldn't be created in a AAA. So there's just,
Yeah.
I find our
Yeah.
students at the moment, especially, they're like, if I had a dream job, because they're looking at graduating this week, they're like, if I had a dream job, I'd do this, and they're like, no, I want to do this instead, and they're like arguing over like which one's better. And I was like,
Yeah.
a job
Yeah.
is probably the best one. You should just go with whatever you can get that fits you.
That's true.
So yeah,
That's true.
it's very interesting to think. But since our second years are graduating this week, do
Mhm.
you have any advice for them, and anyone else? Like, we often get a lot of high school students who might not, they're considering a career in game development. Do you have any advice for them who actually want to get into this area of being a character artist?
Yeah, so I think the advice I can say, you're gonna hear a lot of no's. It's gonna happen. Right now, it's very competitive, uh, and you're gonna hear a lot of no's. Don't get sad about it. Don't get discouraged. If you hear a no, continue work on your work. Like I said, put your work out there. If it is good enough, it's gonna catch attention, and continue sending, your portfolio. It's gonna happen. Just work hard and continue work on your stuff. Even if you hear I got so many no's from applying for companies that I can make a book of the no's that I got, but it doesn't matter. It just means that it's not good enough yet, so I need to be better. I need to make better stuff so I can get a yes. So, yeah, just continue working on it. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Resilience is a huge thing in the creative
Mm.
industries, especially because, work can be so subjective at times. But definitely reach out. Any of our current students, reach out to your teachers, and the other students, because they're here to help, and, they're here to give their feedback. And we love seeing your work, and we want you to be the most successful. So definitely
Mm.
reach out to all of them. Well, that is all the questions I have. Matt, did you have any final questions for Cezar?
No, not from our audience. That was everything of mine. But I'm going to throw just a spanner in the works here and ask a bit of a question. Cezar, from your time at AIE, what has been your standout, your highlight? Like, has been the best memory so far for you?
I just want to have to teach character pipeline. It's always awesome.
Yeah.
Have a lot of fun. I love teaching, just especially when I see the people graduating, and then after a couple of years now, I'm gonna see all the second year graduates working on like big projects, and
Yeah.
I see their names up the crest. Like just knowing that I had a small part on that and helped that student be there, that person be there, it makes my day. It's always awesome. It's always a proud moment. So I made I helped a little bit there, which is always awesome. So and the character pipeline is always my favorite because I see people just learning ZBrush and
Yeah.
it's really cool. Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah, that's you're
I
I
have
guess
to agree.
the guru starting to give like all the young juniors
Yeah.
the first little taste of the software.
And I love seeing the characters that come out. There is always some really like interesting characters, and I'm like, how did you come up with that idea? Like, I would have never even thought of that. So yeah, there's some really awesome ones. Well, thank you so much everyone for joining us today. We might jump to our website to have a look at our upcoming events that we've got over the next few weeks. So obviously we are coming to the end of the year, which is really exciting, but it does mean that our February 2022 intake is open at the moment. So if you want to become a character artist and you've taken a lot on board from Cezar, make sure to check out our courses, as we are doing interviews at the moment for our February intake. So definitely jump on in there and click on apply to study so one of our lovely staff members can get in contact with you. If you jump over to our showcase tab, we do have an event on our campuses in December. So if you jump down to the information evenings and the film careers night and the MAPS Film School open night, those will be running in December, and they're a great opportunity for you to come on campus. So those will be running in Sydney, Melbourne, and Canberra, and Adelaide will be doing a bit of an information evening, and they'll also be highlighting our MAPS Film School, which are out there, which is really awesome. And if anyone's interested, we do have a few live streams coming up over the next 2 weeks, which you can always register for under our workshops. We'll be posting them soon, and we'll be talking to our second years who have just finished their major game projects and their major film projects. So we'll be having a chat to them over the next few weeks, and they'll be showing off all of the amazing work that they put so much hard work into. So definitely check those out, and make sure that if you do have any questions or anything like that, whether like something's inspired you from this live stream and you want to ask more questions about it, feel free to chuck it in, ask a question, and one of our lovely team members will get back to you there. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Cezar. It is always awesome to talk to you. I mean, I'm lucky I get to talk to you all the time, but it's always interesting to hear what our staff have done before they came to AIE, and just on the amazing projects that have led them to being such experts in their areas. So thank you so much for joining us here tonight, and thank you so much to the audience as well for tuning in. And yeah, we love having everyone here and being able to share the wisdom of our staff and our alumni and all of our different guests who come on as well. So thank you so much. That's it for tonight. Feel free to join us for our next live stream and keep up with our socials to hear more information about that. But thank you so much, and we'll see you guys later. Bye.
Bye, everyone. Have a good night.
Bye-bye.